What are your favorite conversations? I like silent ones. They usually start with a question that is left unanswered, or a sentence that you can't really hear, because it wasn't loud enough, or it didn't make sense. And it wasn't that important anyways. It was just a way of filling a blank. And you didn't say anything in return. You didn't need to. You didn't even want to. You know, those awkward moments, they usually happen with people you know very well. Maybe a little too well. Father, mother, sister, brother. Bonjour, Jim Jarmusch.
Bonjour.
Father, mother, sister, brother. That's the title of your new movie. I'm wondering, what is family to you?
Well, family is a kind of arbitrary thing that you're born into. And it's obviously very varied. Family's a kind of questionable thing, but we all have one, because otherwise, without procreation, we don't exist. Heteronormalcy, or the idea of a family, is in a way a kind of economic structure.
Would you say the family framework for you as an artist, as a director, was interesting too, because you could deconstruct it?
I have to be very honest, I'm trying to not say something. I'm really not interested in it telling you something or teaching you something. It's a very, very observational film, and it's non-judgmental. And I like kind of ridiculous, superficial dialogue at times. I find it revealing. I like the pauses between things. I like small incidental details more than dramatic things. So the film was kind of an exercise in exploring those non-dramatic things.
Sometimes you talk about your movies with a beautiful metaphor, the metaphor of a flower. Could you explain that to us?
I saw the film while making it like making 3 flower arrangements, because very delicate. If you move one leaf, you see through to a different color of a flower. If you reposition a flower. So it was very much like, in a way, that's my metaphor for this film, was flower arranging. And the film's very subtle. There's no action, there's no violence, there's no nudity or sex, there's no drama, really, you know? So what is there? It's just observing people's tiny reactions to one another and the things that are inferred by those interactions.
I like what you said about the subtle echoes between the 3 sections of the movie, and I'm thinking of the family photographs that are everywhere in your movie. What do you like about family photographs, Jim?
Well, I like them because they're not artistic intentionally. They are capturing a moment that is sort of a sentiment. So they're often devoid of aesthetic attention. So I like that very much. My brother's a photographer, much more experimental than I am, and a filmmaker. When my father was in bad health and dying in Cleveland, we both live in New York, so we would go back and forth to see him several times. And at this time, it was a period when film cameras were now becoming obsolete and everyone had phone and digital cameras. So in Cleveland, there are a lot of places like the Salvation Army or the Goodwill that sell things people donate. So there were bins of point-and-shoot cameras for sale. And my brother and I would go in and we'd look through the cameras and see if there was film in them. And if there was, we would take it out and basically steal it, but no one was interested. And then we'd go and pay to have this film developed from random, unknown people. And it was fascinating, seeing these photographs of people we don't know, family photographs, like people in their backyard drinking cheap champagne out of the bottle, people fishing, children, playing with toys, these things, badly lit, badly framed. And we really loved just investigating these random accidental discoveries,
You're also a photographer. Does it say something about your art also as a movie maker, that a movie doesn't need to be intentionally beautiful?
Well, I don't know. I'm very, very particular about the framing of the photography in my films. Photography is a huge inspiration to me. Photographers are different than filmmakers in that you are freezing time, you are capturing a moment. And film's about movement and things occurring in time, the movement of something. But photography is very interesting to me, that capturing of a moment, you know? It's almost like Japanese calligraphy, when a master makes just one quick moment and it's done. You know, it's frozen then.
You don't really pay attention to what the spectator think about the film?
I never see my films again once they've been released to like a paying audience, not to a film festival or premiere. I like to see one audience that's not, you know, a film festival. People that are just moviegoers, I like to see it once with them, and I see their reactions, but reactions are different every time a film's screened. But I do really love negative reviews of my films. I don't really read the positive ones, but I always want to read the ones that are negative, because that's someone's perception obviously farther from my own. So I love bad reviews.
What's the worst review you ever had?
It was in French. It was from the south of France. And I'll tell you the English translation. The French intelligentsia treat Jarmusch the way deaf and dumb parents would treat their retarded child. He is 33 years old, the same age as Christ when crucified. We can only hope the same for his film career. That was my favorite one, man.
So what makes a great movie for you? I'm asking the spectator as well as the movie maker.
Oh, but I'm a cinephile. I love all kinds of movies. When people say, what's your favorite movie? I mean, which of the 1,000 should I choose, you know? What I love in everything is diversity and variations in natural phenomena, in people's behavior, in things created by, you know, diversity and variations is, to me, the most beautiful thing of having a consciousness. So I can never answer these kind of questions, because the beauty of cinema, for example, is the huge variety.
We were talking about family. Who would be your father, your mother, your brother, and your sister in the film industry, in the movie world?
Claire Denis is my sister, in a way, because we started together. She was actually my assistant director on Down by Law, but I think she has eclipsed me as a director in her beautiful ability to create films of different types. So she's definitely my sister. My brother, I think, in a way, is Aki Kaurismäki. One of my most favorite things in all of cinema is in one of Aki's films, Shadows in Paradise. There's a love story between a checkout girl in a grocery store and a garbage collector, or whatever you call that. And they're in bed together. They've just made love, but they're just smoking a cigarette. You haven't seen their making love. Aki's very careful about those things. So they're lying in bed, and she says to him, "Does this mean you will love me forever and ever?" And there's a long pause, and he says, "Yes." And then another long pause. End of scene. It's like heartbreakingly perfect, you know?
What about your mom and dad, the ones who taught you everything?
Well, you know, I was Nicholas Ray's assistant the last 2 years of his life as he was declining in health. So, and I know in real life, Nick Ray was not a very good father, but in a way, cinematically, he was a kind of father to me, because he taught me directly that to make films, you must be a kind of dilettante. You must be interested in many things. The other great father for me that was very important in my life was Sam Fuller. And I spent time with Sam Fuller, and we were friends. And Nick Ray is like the great romantic director of Hollywood for me, of that era. And Sam is the visceral, in-your-face, tough, hard-edged filmmaker, you know? And I'm neither of those things. I'm more on the romantic side, but the things they taught me were just, just so important to me, unforgettable and very, very important.
What about your actors, Jim? Do you consider them as family? Because you usually shoot films with them again and again, don't you?
So actors are they're my kids, they're my children in a funny way. So I'm very paternal. The actors, I'm protective. I want them to trust me. I want them to get my reaction. I don't go in another room and watch on a monitor. I don't have playback usually on my films. I'm there observing their performance each take, and I'm the one that speaks to them first. And on my set, after, okay, cut, no one talks. I go to the actors. I take them where I want to speak before anyone does anything. It's a very delicate thread of what we're trying to create.
You mean your set has to be a safe place?
It has to be a very safe place, a focused place. I'm not into chaos on the set. I've seen my friend Abel Ferrara, and he likes chaos. I got to observe Fellini make his last film, Voices of the Moon. And Fellini, when he sets up a shot, no one speaks. Total quiet. He's on the dolly, he's making the shot. But then when they actually shoot, people can hammer and make noise, and Fellini himself is on a megaphone talking over the actors. He's talking over them, and he asks them, no, don't dialogue, just count. So they're going, uno, due, tre. So, everyone does it in a different way, but mine is very quiet. I like to be focused, and I like everyone to be paying attention.
I was very interested in your movie by how your characters communicate or don't communicate. The silences, the petty talk, the awkwardness sometimes of a conversation. It seems that communicating is not easy for them.
Well, I don't know if it is for anyone. I don't know. I just don't like everything being all very neat and intended. And I like the spaces between things in music, in the way people speak, in daily life. I like the pauses. It's kind of obvious because I've made films like Night on Earth is people in taxis in the moments that you would take out of a normal film. In a normal story, they get in the cab, you cut, and they get out. But my whole film was the thing the non-dramatic moment you would not have in the film. Or my film, Coffee and Cigarettes, is a series of little vignettes that are the time in the day, a time in your daily life where you're not doing anything, you're having a break. So you're having coffee and a cigarette, and it's non-dramatic. It's the thing you would take out of something intended to be dramatic.
But even in those scenes, there's the rhythm, there's melody, there's some kind of music, right?
Yes, of course. And, great music has silences and pauses and dynamics where things rise and fall. I had a very interesting thing when I was younger and went to Japan many, many times. I was obsessed with Japanese cinema. And this was before we had DVDs, we had only VHS. And a lot of films by Mitsuguchi or Naruse were not available in the US at all. So I would buy a VHS, which was the same system in Japan as the US. So I would watch these films over and over, Ozu, with no subtitles. And I don't speak Japanese, right? So I learned that, wow, the story is told in the eyes, it's told in the gesture, it's told in the movement. And yes, I missed some plot points from dialogue, but I never missed the essence of the film.
I'd like to talk about the skaters scenes in Father, Mother, Sister, Brother. When you film the skaters in slow motion, it looks like a choreography. What do you find beautiful in their moves, their postures, Their swag, maybe, their vibe?
And what I love about skaters is they're anarchistic. They don't follow any rules. They're open to the variations of all things. They're free, they're wild. I just love skaters. I love their attitudes. I love that they have their own clothes. They have their own thing, and they're a tribe. I have a funny story. These two skaters keep following me, and they cut me off in front, and they say, yo, hold up, man. You make films, don't you? And I said, yes, I do. They go, wow, cool, you're David Lynch, aren't you? And I said, no, I'm not David Lynch. And they're like, oh, yeah. So I keep walking. They cut me off again. And they go, yo, hold up, just stop. We just want to ask you one thing, okay? I'm like, what? And they said, okay, we want to tell you something. If you are David Lynch and you're saying you're not, we just want to tell you, man, we really dig your films, David. And I was like, okay, thanks. And then they skated off and disappeared. It was kind of great.
People don't always know you're also a poet. Where do you find poetry?
Oh, I don't know. My godparents in everything I make comes from a group of poets called the New York School Poets. And these poets are my kind of godparents aesthetically for everything I do, because they appreciate the past, but they look to the future. Their poetry incorporates humor. And as Frank O'Hara wrote in a little manifesto in 1959 called Personism, he said, when you write a poem, you are writing it to one person. You are not writing it to the world. You're not making a proclamation. You are as though you are sending a letter to your lover. And he called it Personism. And I follow this very much. It's ingrained in everything I do. I don't proclaim to the world,
What makes you laugh?
I don't know. But one of my favorite quotes of all time is from Oscar Wilde, who said, life is far too important to be taken seriously. So that's a kind of motto for me also.
Would you say time passing urges you to create, to film, to play music, to take photographs, to write poetry even more?
Well, probably semi-consciously. I don't obsess about mortality, and I'm trying very hard to appreciate the present. I was reading a woman who became a Buddhist scholar later in her life named Pema Chodron, and she was saying that hope and despair are equally toxic, because if you hope for something that doesn't exist, you're taking yourself out of the present and wanting something that isn't there. And if you despair over something that has happened or that you're concerned with, that you can't control, you are leaning into negative energy in the same way. And it's hard to tell people that hope is a negative thing, right? Because we often need hope to keep us buoyed up, to lean toward the positive. But it's true that hope inherently is toxic in a way. And I try to reflect that in my work without overstating it in a way. I don't know. Just makes me happy to have this gift of being alive,
Thank you, Jim.